Hey guys, this is Seth from the RE Tipster blog, and in this video I want to give you a closer look at a website subscription service called InvestorCarrot. And InvestorCarrot, it's basically a monthly or annual subscription where you can pay to have very easy, convenient access to creating your own website or websites for your real estate investing business. And they fit pretty much any feasible purpose you can imagine, whether it's trying to create a buying website or a selling website or just like a home page to brand your business or collect leads and build a buyer's list. Pretty much anything across the board, it can serve that purpose. And the reason I wanted to get a closer look at this particular option is because I've just been hearing a lot about it for years now. I've been sort of vaguely aware of it, but over the past few months, some of the people that have been hanging around my website and my membership site have been talking about how they've started using it, and they've been really impressed with it because it's really easy to use and it's very flexible. You can do a lot of different things with it. And, being in this real estate space, I figured I should probably be more familiar with this. So what I want to do here is just give you a really detailed overview of what the service consists of, just so you're aware of this option in the marketplace. If you're looking to build a website, I think this is a really, really solid way to do that if that's something you're interested in. And it's certainly not the only option by any stretch, but it's one option. And before we get started, just for full disclosure, I do have an affiliate link that is right beneath this video. So if you click on that, you'll go to this page. It should look something like what you see on the screen here. And if you do end up signing up for it, I will get a small commission from that. Of course, I don't want that to affect your decision one way or another, but I just want to be totally transparent about that. But with that out of the way, if you click on that link, you'll go to a page that looks something like this. And if you want to get started, you can go down here where it says try now risk-free. And immediately, as you can see, InvestorCarrot gives you a few different pricing options. You can just have one single website if that's all you need for $49 a month, or you can have up to 3 websites for $99 a month. And if you pay for it annually, you'll actually save a little bit of money. So that's just something to keep in mind. I know it's definitely not the cheapest option out there. I mean, you can totally build your own WordPress website or go with another option out there. But the nice thing about this is, even if you do build your own website with WordPress and just kind of go it alone, that was kind of how I've done it a lot in the past. And even after all these years, there's still a lot of stuff I don't know how to do myself in WordPress. Like, I have to hire outside help to really make it do what I want it to do. And there's hidden costs to that route too. So if you want to just skip all that stuff and just go with something that's really easy for you to have total control and do what you want on your own without having to get some third party involved, that's where an option like InvestorCarrot could definitely come in handy. And not to mention, these websites are built specifically for the purpose of real estate investors. Just something to keep in mind. But for this little walkthrough, I'm going to go with this cheapest option here, just to build one website and show you how that works. Then we can scroll down here and I'll go ahead and enter in my payment information. And of course, I'm just going to blur this out for obvious privacy reasons. Once that's in there, we can click place order. And then once you get through that initial sign-up stage, you're going to see a screen like this where you can choose the type of site you're trying to create. So for example, if you wanted to build a buyer's list, you could use something like that. If you wanted to attract rent-to-own prospects, motivated house seller site, main company website, note buying, selling website, land buying and selling website, that's the one I'm going to choose because that's the business I'm in. I'm just going to name my site RE Tipster, but obviously if I was doing this for my actual site, I would put my business name in there. So go ahead and create the site. Okay, so this is the first thing you see after your site is created. And if I want to click on this, it will take us to our dashboard. And right off the bat, I'm just going to click View Site just so I can show you how simple this is. I mean, right there, I haven't even done anything, and the site is already populated with all of this content and information. And, obviously I'm going to want to look through this stuff and tweak it and, change things and add, delete, and that kind of thing. But if you're somebody who, you don't really know how to design your website, you don't know what to say about yourself, especially if you're just starting out and you really have no experience with this kind of thing. That's a really nice thing about InvestorCarrot, is that they're really, really focused on SEO and getting traffic to your site and just building it out and making it look really legitimate. And that's something that they do just right out of the box, is they have all this populated content ready to go. So in terms of just ease of use and just plug and play, I mean, that's a really nice thing that comes with this kind of a website. But let's go back here and let's just kind of go through these steps here. We'll start by updating the branding or logo. And if you're at all familiar with WordPress, I believe this whole thing is ultimately built on a WordPress system, because this kind of follows the same format that you would normally see in a WordPress site. It's just that Investor Carrot has kind of connected a lot more dots for you and made it a lot easier, and especially by filling in a lot of this information for you already based on the personal information you put in when you sign up, like whatever company name you put in there or phone number you put in the sign up form. I mean, that's why it sort of has that already and is placing that in there. That's obviously not my real phone number. But right here under branding, again, if I wanted to change this to like Sierra Land Buyers or something like that, and then I could, change the tagline if I wanted to, something like that. It's very, very easy to do that. And then in terms of like the logo, if I had a custom logo that I created through like 99 Designs or some other simple logo creation tool, I could upload that right here if I wanted to. But Investor Carrot makes it pretty darn easy to make your site look pretty legitimate. And unfortunately, in my situation, I'm a land investor, and these are all pictures of houses. So like I might want to change this to like a tree or something like that. If you are in the house or rental property business, I mean, that's a very easy way to go as well. Another thing that they have available are a lot of different themes that you can use. So say if, I don't know, I just didn't like the look or feel of this, there's a lot of other options available that I can choose from. When I pick a different theme, it changes it to this kind of layout. Or if I wanted to pick, say, this one here, there's this as well. I think I kind of like this one the best, so I'm going to stick with this one right here. And all I got to do is click Save and Activate, and now it's going to update my site with that theme. And menus right here, if you wanted different pages to be available here on the menu, you could change that here. There's also a menu at the very bottom right down here. I could change that as well pretty easily. I'm not going to mess with that a lot right here, but just so you know, that's something you can do. And then I can come down here to colors. Say if I wanted to change these colors, I could change this to like red. And then now this turns red. It's a pretty simple, straightforward process. I actually kind of like the blue, so I'll just move it back. If I wanted this button color to change, I could go ahead and do it this way, make it green, something like that. Widgets is something that you see over here. These things like this right here is a widget. This right here is a widget, so is this thing. And you can sort of move these around and change them a little bit. So if you wanted a different picture to show up there, you could just select an image and put it there. I mean, that's a great image they already have, so I'm just gonna leave it. Say if you wanted to change this form, I'm going to show you in a minute how to do that. If you didn't want this form here, it's pretty easy to take that out. Recent posts, this is assuming you have a blog integrated with your site, which you don't have to do, but if you did, the recent posts will show up right here. If you wanted to remove that, it's pretty easy. You just click remove, and now it's gone. So it's pretty simple to play with the widgets there. For the home page, you can actually have it just show your latest blog post. Again, if you have a blog involved. In this example here, I'm not going to have a blog involved, so I would just go back to the static page. But if it was like a blog type thing, you could definitely make that be the first thing that people see when they land on your site. Or say if you wanted one of these different pages to show, like the FAQ page, you could go ahead and put that one there instead. Just like that. And then when people hit your URL, this would be the first thing they would see. So, but again, I kind of like the home page to show, so I'm just going to leave it like that. And then custom CSS here. Say if like all of this stuff still is not quite to your liking, it is possible to hire somebody, or if you happen to know CSS yourself, you can put code in here and change things even further. I don't really see why you'd need that because this is set up pretty well to begin with, but if there was just some unique thing you had to see in your website, you could add that in this little section as well. But that's pretty much it. That's how you can change just some of the design elements of your site. If we go back here to the dashboard, we can also add social links. So say if you've got all your social media platforms up and running, you can just get those URLs and paste them here. It's very easy to do. Also, if you have a custom domain name, which is something I would definitely recommend getting at some point, you can link that up so that when people hit that domain name, it will forward directly to your Investor Carrot website. Analytics, if you've got Google Analytics, which is another very good idea, it's very easy to plug that tracking ID in here, and that whole thing is kind of outside the scope of this video, but it's very easy to get that enabled and working. And if you ever just want to like hit the reset button and start over, you can very easily do that right here. So right here, for example, where it says general, this is where you can change a lot of the information that sort of automatically shows up throughout your site. So for example, if I wanted to change the phone number, I could do that here. If I wanted to change my address, I could do that. If I wanted to change the business name, I could do that. Kind of get the idea. And then once you save it and go back to your website, those things will change automatically. Like you notice this thing just changed and the phone number just changed, because these things will show randomly throughout the website. And rather than having to individually update all of these things, you can just change it right there and it will populate that throughout the whole site. So there's that. Tweaking a bit of your content. This is something you'll almost definitely want to do. When you click on this, you can see all of the pre-made pages that already exist when you started this site. So for example, landowner financing. If we click on that, and then if we go back here where it says owner financing, this right here, you can edit this page right here in this section. So if I wanted to change any of these words, I can do that here. Just delete it and type it in there like that. Anywhere where it shows, phone or company in these brackets, that's where in the previous screen where I was showing you how you can update that information, that's where those things will populate throughout the entire website. So say if you didn't want to use seller financing in your business or just wasn't a thing you wanted to do, you can literally just delete this page by checking that and then hitting move to trash and it'll get rid of it. Or say if you just wanted this page to say something else, like reasons to sell your land or something like that, you can just go ahead and do that. And you can also change the actual URL of what it says as well if you want to go that far. So one of the other things I wanted to show you was how to create a submission form for your website, which is really a valuable, important thing, especially if this website is for the purpose of collecting submissions from people who want to sell their land, and you want to give them the opportunity to tell you all the information about their property. So it ends up effectively saving you tons of time. This is what I did, a number of years ago, and it was like one of the best things I ever did by just putting a huge automation tool in place in my business and allowing people to give me the information without necessarily eating up my time in the process on the phone. They could just do it through my website. And you can do that with this kind of form generator. So if you want to add a new form, I guess, first of all, there's a few existing ones that you can click on, and these are already available on the site. But if you wanted to just create a new one from scratch, let's call this Sell Your Land. And we can say, submit your property information, and we will send you an offer within 48 hours or something like that. Or you could just leave that blank. That's fine too. And then this right here just kind of explains how you can start building a form. It's pretty user friendly, but I'll just sort of create a very short one. This is not what my entire submission form looks like by any stretch, but it'll just kind of give you an idea for how easy it is to do this. So we could start here. Let's say the first thing we want to collect is the person's first and last name. So we can go ahead and just drag that over here. We can just say owner name. And we're going to make this a required field because that's a pretty important thing we're going to need. So go ahead and click update. And there we go. Our first thing is done. Now the next thing we're going to add is a yes or no box. So we're going to edit this and say, are you the owner on title? We'll get rid of this. Say yes and no. And this is going to be a required one as well. So basically, whenever I click that, it just means that the person can't submit this form without putting an answer in there. And then another one we're going to want to do is get some of the owner's information. So for example, we're going to want to get their mailing address. So I'll move that over here. And this is the part of the form where I think some users might start saying, I'm not sure I want to just submit all my information to this, mysterious website. So you can kind of explain why you're asking for this. And that's a great use for this description box. So you can just explain, we need this information in order to send you an offer. If any other questions come up, we may need to ask you for some additional questions about your property. If you can take some of these fields out if you don't want those in there. And we're going to make this a required one as well. And then we're also going to ask for their email address and phone number. So let's go ahead and drag that over here too. And it's very easy to reposition these, as you can see. We'll say primary email. And the email address is obviously going to be required. This is actually something I use a lot. A lot of my communication and even offers that I send out these days are just through email. So it's important to get that item for sure. And then we'll ask for the phone number as well. Put that right here. We'll make that a required one too. And then I'll also show you an example of what the drop-down item looks like. So in this one, we're asking the user, if your property fits our investment criteria, how would you like us to send you our offer? And they can say mail, email, fax, or phone. And this one probably doesn't necessarily have to be a required one, so it's kind of up to you as to whether or not you want to make them do that. The next section of my form would be like the actual property information, so we would add another address field. So property address. And just to sort of save time, I'm going to stop right there and not go any further. But just to kind of give you an idea, this form creator is very, very flexible. You can make it say pretty much whatever you want. There's a lot of different options. You can move these things around and change the appearance. I just thought it was a very, very nice tool. So what we can do with this now, if we go back to pages, we can click add new, create a new page. We're just going to call this sell your land. And it's very easy to add that form. We just have to click add and then click on that form we created and insert form. And it will input this code there. And when we preview the page, we can see what that form looks like so far. It's right here. And this obviously is not the entire thing, but that's the manifestation of what I just created there. And you can obviously change this around however you want to. So just a really, really nice form generator. So that's how you can create forms. Another thing you can do with this thing, say if we weren't trying to make this a buying site, we were trying to make this a selling site. We're trying to list our properties for sale. That's another great use of this kind of service. So let's go over here to properties. And all we got to do to create a listing is just click add new. And I'm just going to make up a fictitious property here. We'll say 5 acres of wooded land in, and then we can go ahead and click on the type of property it is. We'll click land. This is going to be for sale. We'll say the price is $20,000. Address, we can put that in here. And a lot of times vacant properties don't have an address. So if there wasn't one, you could just put the street name or something like that. The main benefit of having an address in here is that it will be able to sync up with the map function and show users where it is on the map. So that's why that would be nice if you do have it. But otherwise, you can just put in, we'll just say Russell Street, Sterville, Iowa, code 51334. Year built, construction type. All this stuff doesn't really apply to us except for the lot size. So we'll say 5 acres. And then additional features if you want to just list out and then add media. We can add images here. It's something you're obviously going to want to do. So let's pull up some pictures. I'll take these here and just drag them over. It'll take just a minute for these things to all upload. And then once those things have all uploaded, they're all selected. So we'll just click select and now they're all in there. So we can scroll down here and put the property description as well. And then if you had a video, you could also embed that here. I don't really have one for this example, but if you did, it's pretty easy to add that. And then one other thing I'll add is a featured image, and this is like the thumbnail that will show up on the property listing page. So we'll just pick a picture there. Once that's done, you can go ahead and click publish, and then we can go ahead and view this, just see what it looks like. And this is showing up here because I didn't put like a real address in here. So if I had, it would sync up with the map and show us a better look of that. But yeah, this is the listing. We can click on these pictures and move through it. If the user wants to, click one of these and make it bigger, they just have to click like that and it fills up the whole screen. It's pretty nice. As you can see, the property description there. Didn't add a video, but if I had, that would show up here as well. Property details right there. It's a pretty sparse listing. I would normally kind of fill this out in more detail, but that's what it looks like. And then also, if you want to see what the main listing page looks like, this is how that looks, and this picture was the featured image that I set as the thumbnail. And it also gives you this nice sorting function where you can sort by the type of property you're looking for. So, say if you've got 50 properties on here, the users could sort them as well. And something else you can do is after these things are sold, you can go ahead and move the status to, pending or sold like that. And we'll go ahead and do that. And then if you go back to this page, it'll say sold as well. So it's pretty cool. It's not a bad way to do it. As you probably noticed up here, there is a FAQ page that's already there. They kind of have a lot of ideas here as well. Again, you're going to want to go through this and just make sure this is correct and actually applies to your situation. You can see a company overview, how the process works. They've just done a really good job of pre-populating this stuff and just making it really, really easy for you to not necessarily create everything from scratch, but really more just tweak things based on what's already there. And part of the reason that's in there is for search engine optimization purposes, because when this content is there, it gives search engines something to work with, so that when people are searching for vacant land in Grand Rapids, Michigan, or whatever information you put in there, whatever types of properties you're selling in whatever markets, Google can actually latch onto something that you have on this site because the content is there already. I haven't experienced this myself because I haven't really been using Investor Carrot in my business, but what I've heard is that they do a really good job of getting a lot of that organic traffic to your site so that you really get results. And that's a huge part of the battle when it comes to a website of any kind, is getting people to notice it and visit it and use it. And from what I've been told, they kind of have that down to a science. So if you're really concerned about getting lots of organic traffic to your site, that may be another reason to check out Investor Carrot as a viable option. And one other thing I'll show you really quick is that all Investor Carrot websites are mobile responsive, which is actually a pretty common thing now with most themes that you'll buy out there and most website providers. But they're not all doing it. And it actually is pretty important because a mobile responsive website is a site that's going to look good on any kind of device, whether you're using a phone or an iPad or your desktop computer. And I'll show you what I mean. If I take this browser window and just sort of drag it in and make it narrower, pretty much no matter what I do, the words will reposition themselves and the menu will put itself in the right place. And you can just scroll through it and it's easy to read and it looks good no matter what the dimensions are. So that's a really nice thing to have in a website, is something that's just going to automatically look right on anything. And just so you know, that actually does matter to Google when they're indexing sites and deciding who gets to show up near the top of the search results, is mobile responsiveness. If your website is hard to read or if the layout is terrible, then that's ultimately going to hurt you. And that's something that they have definitely taken steps to make sure they're doing right, is by making all their websites mobile responsive. So that's just a really good thing to know and be aware of. A couple other things I'll show you here. If you're using a submission form on your website, or if you're trying to build any kind of a cash buyers list, or really an email list for any purpose, Investor Carrot can be integrated with pretty much all of the big name email services out there like MailChimp and Aweber and iContact and that kind of thing. All you have to do, say if you're using a service like MailChimp, for example, is go down here to where it says content and then click on forms. And all you have to do is click on the option that you're using. So for example, I use MailChimp. And you just have to pull your API key from the MailChimp account, which is not hard to do at all. I actually have a separate video that shows exactly how to do that. Once you have that API key, you just paste it in here, click Update Settings, and you're good to go. And what that will do is whenever somebody submits something on your submission form, they can get added to your list based on whatever kinds of settings you have set up with that service. If that's something you want to take advantage of, and it's something I'd probably suggest doing, it's definitely a very easy process to do that. Something else I noticed about Investor Carrot is that they've got a very good support system and even a training program. So there's all kinds of webinars and little courses you can take to figure out how to take advantage of Craigslist and Facebook and generate leads and traffic coming to your site and contacting you to buy your properties if that's something you're trying to do. So those kind of things can be very, very helpful. I haven't spent a lot of time actually watching those yet, but there's a ton of just education if you're trying to get better acquainted with how all that stuff works and how to take your internet marketing presence to the next level. And obviously with anything you're trying to do on the site, if you ever get stuck or you're just not sure how to create a form or integrate something or make something look a certain way, they've got lots and lots of tutorials that explain exactly how to do that. So for example, if there's something on your website you're trying to do, or building short-term or long-term traffic, tutorials on your account, advanced features, the appearance of your site, content of your site, all these things, there's tons and tons of videos and image tutorials showing you exactly how to do that. Great resources to have there. And then these are the mastermind calls that they have regularly that you can either attend or watch the recordings of them. And honestly, like all the stuff I'm showing you, this is just scratching the surface. I mean, I've been looking at this site for less than a day now as I'm creating this video. So I'm not by any means an expert in Investor Carrot and how it all works, but it really didn't take me a lot of time to figure it out because they've made it fairly easy. I wouldn't say it's necessarily the most user-friendly system. I think the layout looks a little busy, and like the first time you hit this, it's almost kind of like overwhelming because there's just a lot of different things to look at. But if you just take the time and just let it sink in and kind of absorb how the system works, it doesn't take long to get the hang of it and figure out where you need to go to do certain things. But yeah, that's really all I have to show you here in terms of how Investor Carrot works. If you're looking for ease of use and great SEO features and just a system that is going to be pretty simple to work with over the long term, you don't want to mess around with the hassle of working with independent contractors to fine-tune and tweak the website exactly like you want it. Investor Carrot is a very good, drag and drop, plug and play system that seems to make it pretty easy to get your website up and running like today. So again, I do have an affiliate link beneath this video. I will get a small commission if you sign up through that link, but obviously no pressure, and I want you to do what's best for you. I just am honestly putting the information out there. Just want you to be aware of it. I think it's a solid system. I'm not currently using it, but that doesn't mean I never will. I just already have my websites set up on different platforms, but if you're starting from absolutely nothing and you're just looking for the shortest route to get your websites up and running, this is certainly a valid way to do that. And whatever you decide to do and whatever direction you decide to go with your websites, I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and I wish you all the best as you're continuing to build your online presence. So thanks again for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.